Look at y'all sitting up here with no masks on.
I know.
Yeah.
It's the first day.
Wait a minute now. So I'm talking, and in my mind I'm going, what is different about this audience?
See people's faces.
And then it hits me. No mask, because I saw your smile and I saw your teeth. I was like, great. Well, yeah, we're getting back to where...
Let me just start off by saying that's so ridiculous, okay? Goldberg says to them, it's so nice to see your smile and see your teeth. And I didn't realize what was going on, but you have no masks on. Really, Whoopi? It's March of 2023. People shouldn't have been wearing masks in the first place, let alone 2 years later, sitting in your audience, listening to you babble. These women are absurd and absolutely ridiculous because they believed that the piece of paper over your face was going to save the world. No one was going to be harmed and everyone was going to be okay. But they have had another meltdown, not only with the mask issue, but they are complaining now because the GOP in some states are passing common sense legislation. They are stopping the hurting of children by letting them transition because they're transgender, because the parents said so. They're not allowing them to take hormones or have surgery if they're under 18 years of age. And the View windbags are not happy about it. But first I'm going to show you our old friend Dylan Mulvaney, who is currently living in the Plaza Hotel in New York City, because after all, he's gearing up for his big 365 days of being a girl spectacular in New York. People are paying this man enormous amounts of money to run around and say he's a girl. And that alone is absurd. So here's what Dylan had to say about how he feels about the anti-trans people or the transphobic people, which is all a bunch of bullshit. Have a look.
Hi, it's day 357 of being a girl, and we haven't caught up in a while. So much happening this week, a lot of positive things, but it feels a little odd to sit back and celebrate trans joy when there's so much hurt and hatred in the trans community right now. And while I've taken steps forward this year, it feels like society has taken 100 steps backwards, and we are so in the thick of it. And I kept thinking that all this transphobia and anti-trans legislation was just gonna go away, and that it was like Voldemort's last dying breath, like, I hate trans people! And then it would end, but it's actually gotten stronger. And we have kids being forced to detransition, drag is getting banned, but the most shocking part is that they are now saying that trans people are child predators. And I don't know about you, but to me, that is one of the most serious accusations someone can make. And yet it's being thrown around so lightly for an entire group of people. Like, hello? I see these comments on my posts that are like, stay away from my kid, you're a groomer, pedophile. And I can't even believe I have to say this right now.
Okay, first of all, Dylan is more delusional than the windbags of The View. He looks the same as he did before he went and have his feminine facial surgery. And no one's saying that Dylan is a groomer. There are groomers out there with this trans nonsense, and Jeffrey Marsh is one of them. The one who has the $4 a month Patreon, where you could go and talk in private if you want to break away from your family. Jeffrey Marsh, in my opinion, is a groomer. No one ever said Dylan was. And no one cares about Dylan Mulvaney. Only the fools that are paying him money to walk around and say he's a girl. The companies who are paying him to endorse their products, makeup, clothing, feminine products. Those people are delusional as well. But Dylan has a serious mental illness. and no one is helping this kid. He's a young guy who for some reason has to run around like a girl and everybody's on board with it. He's saying that the anti-trans legislation and the stopping of drag shows, the legislation that's being passed by GOP politicians is not anti-trans, and it's the furthest from that. What it is to protect children, young kids, from being forced by, most of the time, their parents, because the parents are nuts, to take hormones that's going to stop their puberty, to have surgeries that's going to destroy them for the rest of their lives. And the drag shows, if people want to take their kids to see drag queens, that's their problem. This legislation is not trying to ban drag shows. Basically, they don't want children there. But if you're a parent and you want to take your young child to a drag show, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. I really don't think anybody cares. A lot of people care about that. I wouldn't do it, but that's just me. But all this talk about the right is anti-trans, and they want to stop all this, and they want to take the joy out of being transgender. Transgenderism is a mental illness. But don't tell that to The View, especially Ana Navarro. She went on a little tirade about all of this, and she's supposed to be a Republican, but I think that's just a talking point so she can still collect the money from the Democratic National Committee that, again, I've always said, are paying these women to talk all this hate. So have a look at what Ana Navarro and a couple of other those windbags had to say about everything that's going on. And they're just not happy about it. Have a look at this.
When he's saying, I'm your warrior, I think he's saying, I'm your warrior,
Who's
not
he fighting?
everybody. He's fighting. I'll tell you who
Black
he's fighting.
people,
Let
immigrants?
me answer you. He's fighting transgenders.
Drag queen.
He's fighting drag queens. He's they're fighting black history. They're fighting truth. They're fighting facts. They're fighting science. That's what they're fighting.
But none of those people are in power.
Yeah, but I think that doesn't matter, Sonny. It's about manufactured culture wars. It's not about logic. It's let's make things up that enrage people, that aggrieve people, that piss people off, that make them feel oppressed, that make them feel like victims.
Fear of a loss of power?
And I'm going to make them feel that I'm going to fight for them. And Ron DeSantis is saying the same thing. And there was something, the entire Republican Party, because it's happening in so many states, is taking this manufactured culture war way too far. This is now the train they're on, right? Let's go after transgender people. Let's go after LGBTQ. And it's going to wind up getting somebody hurt. And it needs to stop. And listen, if you are against your children going to a drag show, don't take your children to a drag show. No 5-year-old can drive themselves. And the number one cause of death in children is firearms. So if you really are concerned about your children and their security, pass some common sense gun reform and leave the drag queens the hell alone.
But it's still about power. It's a fear of a loss of power. I don't know. We've never had Caitlyn Jenner as the president. We've never had a transgender president. We've had a black president. I think that's what caused
ignorance and fear
white labs
coming for your kids. They being insert name, like anybody
immigrants,
other
black people,
than them.
Spanish
Yeah.
people, other people than white people. It's a fear of a loss of white power, and I think we need to call it what it is.
I do think this is.
So she couldn't be more wrong, okay? And again, she's supposed to be a Republican. She's claiming that the right, the GOP, is manufacturing all these scenarios to stop problems, to have people against each other. The manufactured thing that's happening right now is this transgender shit. It's a made-up it's a mental illness, but they're making it be more than what it really is. They want it to be normal for young people to turn into something they cannot be. Who is fighting against transgender people? No one. They want to stop kids from being harmed. Who's fighting against drag shows? No one. They just don't believe children should be at them. And of course, they're fighting against Black history, which is more bullshit. That's just another way of her saying, I'm a racist even though I'm Latina. They're making up stories. They're fighting against the truth and facts. But the best one, they're fighting against science. And by science, I think she means the almighty Tony Fauci, who belongs in prison. That was manufactured, and it was manufactured in a laboratory in China. The federal government has even come out and said it. So what is it that these women don't understand? What is it about the right that is manufacturing all of these scenarios? They're not manufacturing everything. They're trying to stop it. They're trying to stop the billions of dollars that are being made still on jabs. Get your extra jab. Get your updated jab. The GOP is trying to stop that. And again, they're trying to stop children from being mutilated and harmed for the rest of their life just because their delusional parents saw their 3-year-old son play with his sister's toys or dresses and said, we always knew he was a girl. And they go and destroy that boy's life. These women, I've always said it, and I'll say it one more time, they are being paid by someone on the left. If it's not the DNC, it's George Soros or Gates or even the Biden White House, because they love Joe Biden. He's such a superstar, okay? And then they say that white people, Hostin, let's just tell it like it is. It's all about white supremacy from the biggest racist on that show, other than Whoopi Goldberg. The white race is in fear of losing power. Well, right now, they have an old fool in the White House who happens to be white, and they praise everything he does. Are they talking about Joe Biden? Because they all know that most of the Democrats don't want Joe Biden on the ticket in 24. They all know he's a failure. They just don't have the nerve to come out and say it in public. And they know Kamala Harris is a worse choice than Joe Biden. So don't say they're manufacturing things, because they're not. They're trying to save lives. And then she went on to say, guns are the biggest killer of children. Pass some common sense gun legislation. Again, it's not the gun, Ana Navarro. Okay? It's not the gun. It's the mentally ill criminal with the gun that's doing the killing. And if you own a firearm and you want to be careless with it and leave it out in your home where your children have access to it, shame on you. You should be charged and you should be in prison for it. If you're a responsible gun owner, there is nothing wrong with that, because that is your right under the Second Amendment of the Constitution. So these women, Dylan Mulvaney, with all their transphobe trash, with all their, the whites are trying to stop everything, the GOP hates everybody. These women hate everybody, okay? They hate everything because they know the majority of this country is against Joe Biden, and the majority of the country doesn't believe that boys can be girls. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone. I'd appreciate that. And I don't know. These people are losing their minds and they're blaming another political party when all they're trying to do is help people stop destroying our kids. And that's all. Have a great night, and I'll see you soon.